It seems like the Dragon Ball community is always, 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 or at least a big part of it, always obsessing over who is stronger and who is the strongest in Dragon Ball. Well, today I want to talk about Dragon Ball GT specifically versus Dragon Ball Super, and of course the 10-year time skip that Dragon Ball Super supposedly takes place in. So we're going to talk about characters being stronger and really what everything boils down to. But joining me on this video, of course, the man who really needs no introduction, the undisputed king of power scaling, and a guy who is the president of his own nation, his own Dragon Ball nation. I'm talking about Josh.
Hey guys, what's up? And I don't know about the king of power scaling, but I definitely think that I'm definitely well versed and knowledgeable about the topic. But this is definitely gonna be a fun video we have here.
Definitely, and you've always been, fearless of giving your opinion. But one thing I will say about you is that when we first started talking, we were talking about this very topic here about what characters are more powerful. And before we go any further, okay, I'm gonna just say this. Yes, folks, Josh and I are very aware that GT is not part of Toriyama's manga or part of the continuity of the anime. The quote unquote canon. You don't have to comment about this. I'm telling you right now, we're aware. We're talking about in a hypothetical multiverse. If the Dragon Ball timeline branches out and Super goes one way and GT goes one way, if we were to actually have them compete, we're talking about who's stronger. So as I was saying, when you and I first started talking, I was thinking about this, and I had always thought, that the SS God SS, which had just come out right before, was just the strongest form. But then I started thinking more and more, and you made a case about just how strong GT characters are. And one thing that we'll agree on that everybody listening has to kind of accept is that, and it's not really a good thing, but it's a fact. GT characters are ridiculously overpowered, almost to the point where it's like bad storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even though, which I think we'll get into later, the feats of GT honestly are not impressive at all. There's really unimpressive feats in GT, like Omega Shenron blows up a city, and Goku's insanely impressed by this. This is Super Saiyan 4 Goku was insanely impressed by this feat, which is something that Nappa did in the beginning of Z.
Yeah, at his first appearance on Earth, he did it. Yeah, and that's weird to me because, like you said, the GT. The thing about GT is that it's not as bad as everybody says most of the time, but it definitely does have its inconsistencies. And like you said, it's a real problem with power scaling, with figuring this out. You've pretty much done a pretty good job of figuring it out. Now, the GT Perfect Files, I believe, state that Goku, you might have to correct me on this one because I don't remember exactly, Goku as a kid is as strong as Majin Buu?
Well, I don't know if that's actually in any of the perfect files or not, but based off of his fight with General Rildo, the normal form of Rildo, before they even actually attacked Rildo, before Pan even charged Rildo, Goku stated this is a being even more powerful than Majin Buu. Now, it's not clear of which Majin Buu. It could be Fat Buu, it could be Buuhan, but I imagine that he's talking about Kid Buu. That's
Me
just
too.
what I would imagine. So Goku fights Rildo, this character, this being that's stronger than Majin Buu, and he's fighting him in his base form without even transforming, and he's actually winning. A lot of people say he needed to go Super Saiyan, but he did that to kind of, show Rildo he had more power because he knew Rildo was holding back a little bit more as well. So Goku's base is equal to or higher than what a Super Saiyan 3 form was in Z, well, in the Buu saga at least. That's what most fans agree. It may even be higher because later on we do see that Goku actually pretty much busts out of a dimension
Yeah, he does
with
what
his ki.
Gotenks and Buuhan did.
Right, and arguable of which one's stronger, Gotenks or Goku. A lot of people argue. I think Gotenks is definitely much more powerful, but that's pretty much the whole backstory on why Goku's base form is been suggested to be at least as strong as the Super Saiyan 3 was from Z, and then you put on the multipliers, which makes him insanely powerful.
Well, and also in a roundabout way, Resurrection F, in a way, and Battle of Gods kind of cement this a little tiny bit, not based on the new forms, but based on the fact that in these two films now, especially in Resurrection F, Goku's base is significantly more powerful to the point where he can compete head to head with Frieza in his final form and actually win most of the fight. You know, I've theorized in the past, and of course, a lot of this is theory, that Goku's base in Resurrection F is equal to that, if not slightly higher than Kid Buu. But with GT, it just seems like it's even higher than that.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we really have, not even to mention Super Saiyan God, but for Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, we don't even know what the multiplier is. We don't know if it's just the regular 50 times boost and it looks all different. It's so powerful because of their base forms are so, incredibly different than what they were before. They're mixed with this God Ki, turning their hair blue. We don't know if it's, I mean, it is just turning Super Saiyan with this new form, but we don't know if that gives it the same multiplier or not. I don't imagine it being some 1,000-time multiplier, because it didn't seem like he got that big of a power boost just on the reaction of some of the characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's weird because with GT, like, the two comparisons that Hail Zeon made in his video was Goku versus Beerus from Battle of Gods, the movie, and then Goku versus Vegeta Baby, or Baby Vegeta, whatever you want to call him, where basically Beerus had his way with Goku and so did Vegeta, but it seemed like, I mean, what do you think? Which fight do you think was more dominant? I would lean more towards Beerus, but
I think that Beerus definitely dominated Goku more, and I've discussed with you before. I mean, I saw Zeon's video; it was a great video, and I discussed before with you before I even knew about that video. This is something that I actually analyzed. I was working on doing a video, may do one in the future, but this whole fight between Beerus and Goku, and then Baby and Goku, if you really look at the fights, obviously Beerus flicks Goku.
yeah.
That's an insane domination. Baby, before Goku even grows his tail, he's fighting Baby Vegeta, and I think it's his first form. When he just has the white hair, he still looks like Vegeta completely with the white hair. And Vegeta in that form is dominating Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Then Goku comes back with his tail. Obviously he's said to have gotten stronger. But Baby Vegeta's in his final form. He's fully transformed, and he's basically spinning around Goku with his tail, and Goku can't even touch him. And I always use it as kind of, I look at honestly in the same power gap as Super Buu and Mr. Gohan. It really seems to be that, Gohan wasn't, I mean, Buu could not touch Gohan at all. Gohan's knocking Buu around. It's the same exact situation with Baby and Goku. And obviously with Beerus and Goku, Beerus just flicks him with whatever percent of power he was using. And it's obvious that Baby was not trying very hard either. But the thing is that when Goku powers up to Super Saiyan God, he can only match up to about 60% of Beerus's strength. That's not even close to that's not even close to Beerus's full power. The thing is, when Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan 4, he was going from being demolished by Baby, not even able to touch him, to then being able to tank Baby's most powerful attacks without taking any damage and demolishing Baby like there's no tomorrow. And when Baby transforms into the Great Ape or the Ozaru, which, is hypothetically in this situation a 10 times boost like it has historically been, Goku's still fighting on par and does end up defeating Baby. And this is all not even taking into consideration the power boost that Goku gets throughout GT, where he's given energy from the other heroes.
Yeah.
A lot of fans speculate that Goku does indeed retain that bonus power. It's unclear, but if you go with that, that makes Goku even more powerful as a Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah, SSJ4 is ridiculously overpowered. And case in point, the argument with Vegito versus Gogeta, which seems to be a common thing in this community, okay, Vegito is more powerful just purely based on the feats that we see in Dragon Ball Z. But when you factor in the SSJ4 Gogeta, that Gogeta, you made a video about this, about the most powerful character, and most fans will say it's Whis. And in Toriyama's eyes, it probably is. But if you put GT in there, I find it very difficult to argue against Gogeta in GT, because that Gogeta, I mean, you said it in the video, he used his eyes to freaking hurt Shenron.
I think that Gogeta's performance against Omega Shenron's a character that's thousands of times stronger than the Goku that Beerus fought. The way Gogeta dominated Omega Shenron was almost as bad as the way Beerus dominated Goku. And if you just scale up, it's pretty simple that Gogeta hypothetically should be stronger than Beerus and even Whis, in my opinion. And there's no doubt in my mind that based off of that, they should be stronger. But if some, like Toriyama just goes like, oh, well, Whis and Beerus are stronger than anything from GT, well, I guess that's all on the water. But based on the feats and the performance of Gogeta compared to Beerus, I really think that Gogeta would be leagues and leagues in leagues above anything that we've seen in Dragon Ball yet.
And yet it's weird because, again, it's weird because he blows up a city and Goku freaks out. You would think that that would be like nothing. You would think that with the way that, okay, so if we look at Dragon Ball Super and Battle of Gods, in both Super and in Battle of Gods, it is stated that Beerus has the ability to destroy a galaxy. Now, we don't know if he can one-shot the galaxy or if he can do it, in a little bit more time. That's stated, okay? So that tells me that if Omega Shenron, or at least Shenlong in the Japanese version, if he is that much more powerful than Beerus, then blowing up a city for him would be equal to blowing up a solar system or multiple galaxies.
I mean, yeah,
That's why it's weird.
I mean, yeah, even like I mentioned earlier, Nappa blew up a city, and even Super Perfect Cell had stated he can destroy a solar system. Whether or not he can do that, that's a debate for another day. But yeah, Omega Shenron and a lot of the characters from GT, their just feats are not impressive. And a lot of times, we always use feats to compare characters. With GT, it's weird and it's almost counterintuitive, as I really just don't try to use feats. I have to. 100% I have to power scale, really.
Yeah, but also some of the feats, like the Gogeta and how impressive he looked, that tells you one thing. But then the city blowing up, and then the whole one that people bring up is Trunks getting into that car accident, which,
oh boy,
that's another one right there.
Don't forget when Trunks fell on Pan. Pan could not get Trunks off of him.
Or you mean her?
That's right.
Yeah. No, and then now another misconception, a big misconception that I wanted to clear up here with Battle of Gods. And we're going to talk about Super here in just a moment, but with Battle of Gods, one of the huge misconceptions that people fail to understand about that movie, and this is people not watching the movie enough or really paying attention, is the scaling between God, Goku, and Beerus. When, they're fighting underground, Goku says, I'm only using 80% of my power, right? And Beerus is like, so you're not being serious. And then later on, at the end of the film, Whis says, I've never seen you use 70% of your power before. People think that the 70% is less than the 80% or equal to, and that's not the case at all. What Whis was talking about was Beerus in space using that gigantic blast on Goku. That's when he's using 70%, and Goku couldn't even take it until he went to the God form again and absorbed it. But I think a lot of people misunderstand, and they think that Goku used 80% the entire fight, and he did not, because when he exploded and he went SSJ, he went 100%, because if he didn't, it wouldn't have made any sense.
Absolutely. And with that, I really just do, even though Toriyama's statements could be contradicted later on whenever he does more interviews or in the Dragon Ball Super series, that statement when he says that Goku's a 6, Beerus is a 10, Whis is a 15.
I think that's changed now, honestly.
It might be. It might very well be. But for the time being, I just look at that as Super Saiyan God Goku being around 60%, it being just about 60% of Beerus's full power. And that doesn't seem too far-fetched to me.
But I mean, what about Whis being able to handle Goku and Vegeta by himself with no problem?
Well, we've seen that you don't need to be that much stronger than someone to really dominate them, and it's pretty clear in Resurrection F. Spoiler alert here for anyone who hasn't seen the film, but pretty much that, I think at least that the base forms of Goku and Vegeta are clearly not anywhere near as strong as a Super Saiyan God form would be.
Yeah. Now, the one last thing I wanted to touch on here with you is the Dragon Ball Super Revelation. I think it was episode 7 or 8. Beerus and this is where everything gets weird. Now, one thing I want to clear up about this is that we don't know if this was a Toriyama line. Like I've talked about before in videos with Dino and videos on my channel, Toriyama is sending Toei and Toyotaro a manuscript. If they are adding and making changes, we don't know. Will we know? Maybe, hopefully one day, but we really don't know which lines are from Toriyama and which are not. But in Dragon Ball Super, Beerus says that he tells Vegeta, you entertain me more than Goku, essentially. And then he tells him that I use 1/10 of my power, 10%. If you scale that, would that not kind of make Beerus weaker than a lot of GT villains, including even Baby?
Just to give reference to a lot of people, the base form of, as I mentioned earlier, the base form of Goku is about as strong as the Super Saiyan 3 from Z. And most fans agree that the Super Saiyan 4 multiplier is 4,000 times base. I actually would argue that it's higher, but most fans agree it's 4,000 times base based on his performance against Baby and then his grade 8 form. If you put that into perspective, that should hypothetically mean that Goku would be hundreds, if not thousands of times stronger than Beerus mathematically speaking, and math with Dragon Ball, that adds another
Oh,
layer of confusion right there.
I mean,
Especially when you're
hell,
going off of two different continuities, it really messes things up.
especially when Frieza said 1.3 million in the movie, which I'm
Oh
still not
boy.
over it.
Oh boy.
Right. But it seems like SSJ4 Goku would murder Beerus just based on the multiplier. I mean, just SSJ3 base Goku or whatever you want to call it. Just that right there. I almost wonder if GT SSJ3 Goku, kid or not, could handle Beerus.
I mean, even if Beerus was using something like 1% against Goku, you have to imagine that would mean that even a Super Saiyan 3 Goku from GT should hypothetically have a really good shot at beating Beerus, if not, demolishing him. So we
Well,
don't know, but we have no idea how much power Beerus used against Goku. We really don't.
what about SSJ4 Gogeta versus Whis? I think that's the big question because to
I don't
me,
even think that's a fight.
you think Gogeta would,
I
would
think
murk him.
Gogeta would treat him just like Omega Shenron. I mean, I think Omega Shenron's stronger than Whis, to be quite honest.
What feats make you believe that? I'm just curious.
It's just based off of the power scaling. Because if I think that Super Saiyan 4 Goku, based off of everything that I've learned over the last few months with this series and with the films, if I think that Super Saiyan 4 Goku could wreck Beerus, remember that Whis was wrecked Beerus pretty much in the movie,
Yeah.
well, Battle Gods film when he chopped him.
When he
But
chopped
remember how much trouble Omega Shenron gives Super Saiyan 4 Goku in that series. He's not even really able to do much aside from his Dragon Fist, where he almost killed Omega because it's one of his most powerful attacks, and he would have been dead if it wasn't for Omega's regeneration. But I'm not even talking about the power boost that Goku's hypothetically supposed to be gaining here from the other warriors, earlier on in the series. I just think that if you scale from Goku to Omega Shenron, I think just those power scaling elements really would put him above Whis, in my opinion.
I just don't. Just my opinion, real quick. I don't think that when they donated their power to Goku and GT, I don't think that stuck. I think that was just because he had already been fighting for a while, and I think if anything, it replenished his ki. I don't
Right,
think it made him.
exactly. I don't think. I think it might. I
I
think, it
think
gave him a
fans
temporary
overrate that.
boost. I think there's no indication that he really kept it. I think it's just a temporary boost for that time being, but it's very hard to say. But I would definitely say that it was just a temporary.
But it also makes you wonder when Vegeta won SSJ4, even though some fans think he cheated. I'm not going to cross that one because Jay will get pissed off. But it does make you wonder, though, if Vegeta's base is lower than Goku's base, then that multiplier wouldn't be as effective. But when you watch the show, he had to have been at least close to Goku's power. Why? Because when you do finger fusion, it's established that you have to have equal ki. So either Goku dropped his ki or Vegeta's base was just as strong as Goku's, which again, kind of hard to swallow, man. GT
I
is
am
tough.
going to make an argument for the opposite side here, though. That Goku that Vegeta fused with was a Goku that had just finished using the Dragon Fist tech, so he was pretty drained.
So you're saying
So
that
one, I think
okay.
either Vegeta was about the same as that, weakened Goku, or Vegeta had to drop his power to fuse with Goku, one or the other, because Goku would have been pretty drained. But just based off of that, how strong that fusion multiplier is, a weakened Goku fusing with that Vegeta, that still tells you how strong fusion really is. Could you imagine if they were both at their maximum, how powerful they really would be?
That's what I was gonna say. Could you imagine? And the thing is, a lot of fans. I think one thing that you hit spot on in one of your videos was that a lot of fans overrate fusion and they also underrate it. There's no way that Goten and Trunks individually, even if it was 2 against 1, would have survived a minute against Super Buu. But
Right.
when they
People think
fused,
it's an addition too. It's not an addition of power. It's a multiplier. It's an insane enhancement of strength. It's not just an addition like some people claim. Because
yeah,
Goten and Trunks individually are arguably weaker than 18. And they're going to be
yes,
stronger than Super Buu. It's an insane power up.
no, it is. And the Potara is even more insane. But
Right?
that's another video. Anyways, thank you for being on, Josh. Pretty much,
Absolutely.
folks. Yeah, this has nothing to do with our like or dislike of GT. It's just a discussion about just how ridiculously powerful these characters are in GT. Go check out Dragon Ball Nation. And thank you again, Josh, for being here.
Not at all. And just for the record, I love all of Dragon Ball. I especially love Resurrection F and Battle Gods. Actually, I like it more in GT. But that's pretty much all I wanted to add.
Yeah, GT is still like ridiculously OP, I would say.
That's right.
Just
Absolutely is.
to the
Even if it
point where it
doesn't
makes
appear
no
to.
sense.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks again for watching. Now, I want you guys to leave your comments below. This is gonna be a crazy comment section, I assure you, because everyone's gonna have their theories. We're gonna have a bunch of mathematicians come up out of nowhere, I'm sure, but I want to see it. So leave your comments below. Thanks, and